Right, we're letting it build up. We are live, James, but sometimes it cuts off, doesn't it, at the middle? We need to. We have to get a little intro jingle, don't we? We did have a little. It's the John and James show. You know,
Wake
that
up
type of
with John and James.
Wake up. But we're not doing wake up anymore, are we? Wake up's not it's not our vibe.
It's not a thing anymore.
We've got a different vibe. Hi everyone. How are you? James? Are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. I'm very well, mate. I'm very well.
So to kick things off, that was a big slurp, wasn't it?
That was a big
slurp. My wife hates that. You know, when you slurp.
There's a particular term for it, isn't there? There's a condition where you are really triggered by noise like that. It's like chewing.
Yeah.
And slurping tea.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, James, got me thinking about my capitalist business head. There is a big business for this. What's that thing when they do this?
So it's not haptic feedback, is it? But it's the whole kind of when you drum your
it's
nails
some weird
on something.
thing. I've seen these women doing it, and it's
a product
flying.
You've got a product thing, and then they tap their nails on it, and it's like
this
white noise,
thing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
I can't stand it. But there is loads. Apparently, guys get off on this thing, but it drives me insane. I think that's what it is. I think it's some weird sexual deviant stuff. You would know, James. You're the expert in that area.
Well, you've always got to bring it to that level, haven't you? I'm here to make it more highbrow, and you've just got to bring it down to the depths of everything comes to some sort of sexual deviancy.
It's big business.
Start very quick.
I'm the anti-capitalist capitalist, which doesn't make much sense.
I thought you were going to say the Antichrist, which would have summed you up quite nicely.
So today, James, we're going to go through. Let's just give the people a massive tip out there to save them maybe thousands of pounds per year if you work from home. When you make your coffee, if you're not posh enough like me and you're sort of lower middle class, working class, and you don't want to pay £5 for a coffee, maybe like I used to, and instant coffee tastes a bit weird, doesn't it? It's
I'm not a fan.
You put the instant coffee in, pour the hot water on. All these years, I didn't know that if you pour the hot water on straight away, it burns the beans. So that's why the taste is dead.
I could have told you that.
James, this is big news.
If you'd have come to me with that, I would have said, do not pour boiling water on your coffee.
Seriously.
You burn it.
It burns it. And that is what kills the taste.
Why have you not come to me with that?
So do you know what you do, James? You get whichever milk you want to use. I know you use your almond buttermilk.
I have it black.
Or grass. Okay. Grass milk.
So.
But I stick.
I'm just going to nip out into the garden and milk a blade of grass. It's like that.
Get your grass milk in. But if you just stick the milk in first, guys.
Where do you find the udders on a blade of grass?
It's just have to keep going. But it protects it. I don't know, whatever it's doing. It just protects the beans. Leave it there for a little while, whisk it around, then put your hot water on, and all of a sudden it transforms the coffee, and you'll save yourself thousands of pounds going to coffee shops.
Wow.
There you go.
You're just value personified.
I should be working for Doggy, shouldn't I?
No, what Watchdog?
DOGE.
Watchdog. DOGE. I don't like you're some sort of consumer vigilante. You're just there.
Right. If they're out there, Musk, Trump
coming.
Get me into the doggy, the doogie. I'm
the Doge.
the Mr. Efficiency. So that's what we was going to we'll cover that sort of quickly.
It was a seamless
bat.
segue into that.
You like what I did there, didn't you? It was
I love it, mate.
Seamless transition.
Silky smooth.
So this Department of Government Efficiency, I don't know if you watched the half an hour yesterday, it might have been, where Trump was talking about the inefficiencies and corruptions behind the scene. I know for people who are saying like he's corrupt, there's loads of things going on about him. I get it, but let's just stick to the narrative of the DOGE for now. Then we've got Elon Musk and his little kid X, who's like a super cute little kid. I don't know if you see it. And Elon Musk is there. He's got his hat on. He's got his little kid, right, addressing the nation. This kid's climbing up him. It's just, it's typical, isn't it, of this weird thing we're living through. But I actually like it. It's so.
Is it along the lines of sort of Zuckerberg and the rebrand? There's been this whole narrative around how he's rebranded himself to be more street.
Yeah,
he's clearly been working out. He's got the baggy kind of the basketball vibe going on, and and seemingly Elon's doing the similar kind of thing. Maybe they've got the same image consultant.
He's always been a bit, well, when his early days, he was very geeky, wasn't he? When he was sort of losing his hair, his whole clothes were terrible. Now he's like a quirky
suits.
Yeah, he's like a quirky geek, isn't he? He's got that geek vibe, but it just seems when I listen to others, I like Bernie Sanders a little bit. I like his, seems like a very dedicated guy. But I just watched him do like a monologue today, and it was so, it was all very carefully written, and it was just this long speech and, quoting Abraham Lincoln. And this is why it just doesn't connect. It's too orchestrated. It needs to be John and James live, doesn't it? It needs to be off the bat, unprepared. All of these prepared speeches are a nightmare.
That's been pulled back, isn't it? That people have seen what the alternative is. We've said this before, that Trump is not a politician. He doesn't come from that same mold. And he speaks the language of the people. And it's not perfect. And it's flawed. And he makes mistakes. But people will forgive him for it because it's coming across as human.
It's much better, James. Like Musk was umming and ahhing. He's not a great presenter. He's not eloquent with his speech sometimes, but it's his credibility and the fact that he hasn't prepared that. He's just doing it because he knows, and it's not orchestrated. He hasn't. If it was anybody else addressing the nation, they would have been reciting this well-oiled speech to the T, trying to get every sentence and word right. And he's basically just chilled, having a laugh. I know it's maybe easy to be chilled. You're the richest man in the world, but that's probably why he is, isn't it? He's got a combination of all of these characteristics of being like very high IQ, very real, very ambitious. I'd definitely send it to you because it is quite interesting.
Okay. But my theory on it is that they are championing people that do.
Yeah.
There's been so much rhetoric from people that say a lot and do very little. And these are now people that are doing first and foremost, and then saying. So they've done their thing and they've marked their credibility, and now they're coming onto the platform to say, this is what we're doing right now. So I think historically
you might not like what they're doing, though, will you, James? You might not like it.
But they are doers. They are people that actually are making a mark, and they are, for right or wrong, and depending on which side of the fence you are, that they are making a dent in the world. They are doing something as opposed to just talking about it. And people have become totally disillusioned and disenfranchised with talking and not doing. It's like the time for talk is over. Let's see some action. And when you then do action, immaterial of what it looks like, it's still action, and people respond to that. The frustration is around talking with no substance.
How many times have we seen it, James? It's just every single politician, isn't it? Well-oiled speeches.
Pandering to the populace.
And they all go to the same communication person. In the UK, they do this. I don't know what that is, but they talk.
What was
with
that?
A little. It's like a. It's like a little fun. It's like a fun war thing. They do
emphasize.
This.
It's the emphasis.
But it's exactly the same. It's like they've been to the same person. It's just. It's like the fakest.
It's the spin
thing
doctors.
Ever. Yeah, it is. It's really bad. But you can see it from externally, even if I was left wing.
People see through
I don't think some of the libertarians, whatever they are, Democrats, left wingers, I honestly don't think they see it. There's a lot of them that just don't see it. And I would consider myself probably more center left, potentially, probably more center at the moment. But some of these Democrats, you say to them, look, you can objectively see why this communication is not going to land. But we are where we are. But anyway, this DOGE, this DOGE, it's about government efficiency.
Are we going to decide? Are we going to say what it actually is? Are we going to say
I just prefer
the pronunciation and just stick to it for the entire thing?
Yeah, I think DOGE is the one, isn't it? Stick with DOGE. Yeah,
just
weird.
I don't know, mate. Depends on your perspective, doesn't it?
It does. Literally, it does. Yeah.
Depends what you're into.
It does. We'll go DOGE, okay? So this DOGE thing.
Changed it again.
James. Sorry, I have to bring back the... You don't want me to bring back these, do you?
Don't go air quotes.
I'm not going to go air quotes. But it's all about efficiency. So this is where AI, tech, potentially can help us, elevate us, create abundance in the future. So they're going behind the scenes into the government, and they're finding out that people are signing 3-month contracts and they're getting paid for like 20 years. There's people who are all these bureaucrats that are involved in dishing out these contracts, and they're worth 30 million quid. And he's saying, how have they actually made their money? Unless he's openly saying, unless they're genius investors, where's all this money going? And then there's all these inefficient processes behind the scenes. He said they were sending 50,000 condoms to, I can't even say that word properly. They're sending, they're 50,000 contraceptives to, I say condoms.
Condoms.
50,000 condoms to Africa. And he's basically, it was meant to go to Gaza or something, and then it ended up in Africa. So it's
a clerical error.
But some middleman somewhere in some government, department.
This will be a laugh.
Is making millions from sending contraceptives to the wrong place.
Yeah.
So he went through a whole list of these inefficiencies. He reckons there's trillions. And you know what Musk is like. When he took over Twitter, he went in there and basically fired 80% of the staff. Because they're in there like playing ping pong, talking about their feelings. I like that.
Have you been to the Twitter offices lately?
Yeah, they're all militant now. They're all in like army uniform. There's just 5 of them.
Do you know that to be true?
It's 100%. There's only 5
Everybody
staff
was
left.
in there just playing ping pong and having massages, bringing their dogs to work. It's the whole Google thing.
There was no rules. There was basically, you can just come in if you want and get paid 100 grand
sort of comatose on on jelly beans.
Just banning everyone if they say, anything marginally out of kilter. But look, he went in there.
No sweeping statements on this show, mate.
No generalizations here.
No generalizations by any means.
But the facts are, he did get rid of a lot of stuff, didn't he?
That is true. I don't know that's disputable.
And then I think Zuckerberg took note as well about what he was doing. I watched him in an interview and said pretty much he was going down the same path of reducing their overheads. Going back to the pit, there's nothing wrong with talking about your feelings and playing ping pong. Ping pool. That's a new game.
You've just invented one right there.
Yeah, you can play pool and ping pong at the same
whilst
time.
wearing a condom.
But this sounds like my dream to play ping pong and talk about my feelings. Actually, it sounds like I should have been.
This has gone into a weird dream state.
I should have worked at Twitter before it was X.
Yeah.
Now it's hardcore efficiency, no fun. No fun X. I don't know what it's like at X. Be interested to hear what it is like behind the scenes. I know Musk is, a hard taskmaster, isn't he? He doesn't take sometimes you can drive efficiency to the point of what is the point? On the flip side, do you think, James? It's like if life was all about efficiency, I don't know, why don't you just stay in bed and close your eyes and just conserve all your energy?
Just employ robots. Have no human element at all.
Yeah, efficiency is basically, if you push it too far, it's basically death, isn't it?
It's the death of creativity for sure.
Yeah, so you don't want to be, I don't know, maybe I talked myself out of that. I need to think about that statement.
Have to think about it for a minute. Just take a moment. Have a game of ping pong and then come back.
I'm gonna go. Maybe that was what the ping pong was for. It was to think. It was thinking time.
Yeah.
But is efficient? Yeah, you can be efficient with. You can be over efficient with something. Some things take. You got to enjoy the moment, haven't you? You can't. It's like you take your wife out for dinner. You don't want it to be efficient. You want to be in the moment. You don't want to eat with speed. And
so how do you class being efficient then? Would you say that efficiency is planning that evening out to make sure that it goes well and is easy, frictionless, there's no dramas? Is that efficiency? How would you classify efficiency?
Yeah. What is efficiency? Is efficiency speed? Is it speed towards an outcome? You don't really have efficiency in experiences, do you? It's not really a word associated with. You don't go to a movie and think, "Oh, wow, that was super efficient." This.
Well, yeah, but so efficiency. Then, if you bought your tickets beforehand online, you turn up, you get your tickets on arrival, you go and buy your popcorn. There's short queues, whatever. You're in the cinema, sat down. That's pretty efficient, isn't it?
Yeah. It's contextual to the process, but sometimes the actual experience I've seen some of the sort of biohacking productivity gurus go a little bit too far with the efficiency. They've gone to the point of waking up earlier and earlier. It's like, I'm going to get up at 5, 4, 3. Basically, you're getting up before you even go to sleep.
Yeah. I'm just going to cut out the middleman.
You're just cutting out middleman.
Set my alarm before I go to sleep.
All the time. So that's what I'm saying about efficiency with work. I'm a little bit like, yeah, I get it, getting a job done. But I like, shouldn't there be more leisure or not?
There's got to be balance, isn't there? There has to be balance.
What's the point otherwise? What are we racing?
In the moment. Be in the moment.
I'll take that back.
Listen, I'm going to say to you that I appreciate us doing this right now. I'm just going to put that out there and say, at this moment in time, I'm appreciating this conversation.
Wow. And I'll say that
don't say anything. Don't need to say anything. Just
be.
Acknowledge it. Just be with that.
And I'll say that last 30 seconds was very inefficient. But it wasn't. It wasn't, James. It was. But that's a good point, though, isn't it? When you're too inefficient, you got to balance it up. Maybe X, bring back the pool, bring back the ping pool, bring back ping pool, because
Ping pool.
that's
Is that like
yeah,
table tennis in a swimming pool
with pool table,
with a pool table? Oh, with a pool table.
Yeah. So Musk, Elon, bring it back, bring it back. You got enough money, pay them well. So I think we've got to have a balance with work, output, leisure. We've got to enjoy the process, because otherwise, what are we heading towards? But this government efficiency program is meant to release trillions of wasted funds, and then that's going to go back into, well, they said it's going to filter down to people on the ground, and they'll be paying less interest on their mortgage. He said, look, you won't see prices of your food go up every year, because he was very honest and said, if we keep going this way we're going, the debt will bankrupt the whole economy, the American economy. He said, look, we're in trillions of debt here. If we keep going like this,
well, something's got to give, isn't it? You can't keep going the way you're going. And I think certainly in the UK as well, when you're talking about inefficiencies, that institutional old school ties, let's say, and let's not be divisive about it, but like those particular agencies or agreements between business and government that have been going for years and years and years need to be looked at. And certainly, I mean, for example, the NHS, there's going to be massive inefficiencies in there, that because that's how it's been, they were on the approved suppliers list, that they'll just continue to do that and making fortunes, where somebody could come in as an external body and make some serious changes and would save the NHS millions.
Yeah, that's the danger, isn't it? If it going to be a privatized company, it's not a danger. Well, yeah, it is a danger, because it could end up being like an American model of insurance, which I don't think would be very good. But it definitely could do with driving some sort of efficiency.
But even if it was just a small premium, a small premium that could be means tested or something along those lines, that would just ease the pressure. A contribution, I know, we all pay our national insurance, but something that can be a top up over and above, that would be regulated and, would be used in the right way. I think everybody, if you ask them honestly, they would respond as like, yeah, I could pay a little bit towards it if it meant that it would be more efficient, I could get better treatment, that there'd be less pressure on nurses, recruitment would be improved, resources improved, quality of care, quality of facilities. Some hospitals are in dire need of knocking down and rebuilding. They're having to deal in very, very difficult circumstances. And I think the general public on the whole don't know quite how stretched the NHS is. They just will have an experience of going in there and will be impacted by it with waiting times and stress levels and things being missed.
Yeah.
These guys are doing a fucking hard job and doing the very best they can on a daily basis. And I know that because I'm married to somebody in it.
So am I.
So are you.
We both are, James.
So
we both are.
Clearly, we have the authority to speak.
It's not a competition.
Mine's been in it for longer than yours.
Yeah. True. But you are right. It needs efficiency, doesn't it? That, and I've done research on the NHS, and I know that middlemen are do take heavy cuts on services like management consultants and things like that go in to do rejigging. It costs them absolute millions. It's like wedding tax. It's like a cake is £10 from Tesco, you say it's a wedding cake and it's bloody £1,000. It's like eggs and flour. It's like that in the
Where have you been
NHS.
shopping?
Waitrose.
I think they saw you coming, mate. I think they saw you coming. Thinks
£10 for a
Hastings
cake.
is on his way. Quick, change the
But
price
they've done
tag.
that with the NHS with things, simple drugs that they will just hyperinflate the prices because they know they're selling it to the NHS, and they've done that across the board. I did do a little bit of digging with the NHS. I will reveal this live, James.
Transparency.
Because I've got the paid I've got the paid Chat GPT thingy. So what I did is I took a 1,000-page document off of a government website to see if anybody was, you can go onto the government website and find out who's could possibly have conflicts of interest when it comes to payments being paid out, like lobbying payments and things like that. So I put this 1,000-page document into ChatGPT, and I said, right, scan all of this document for me. Tell me, give me names, give me any conflicts of interest, flag up any patterns or anything that doesn't look quite right. So it ends up, it ends up flagging up a few names. Then I do a bit more digging, and there's like a billionaire from South Africa. I don't want to, name names at the moment because I don't want to get sued. But he's got interest in companies, 30% stakes in certain companies, and there was all different hoo-ha with apartheid and things like that. And he's donated millions to Keir Starmer as well. So it is all very, there's so many conflicts of interest there. And that's probably where ChatGPT and things like that are going to get red hot at finding these type of patterns. And maybe I should sell that to some type of newspaper, shouldn't I? That type of insight, because it is.
Yeah.
It sounds like a conspiracy, doesn't it, when you start going down these rabbit holes? But you've
got to be very, very sure of your facts. That's
you got to be very sure.
It's got to be fact checked really stringently.
Yeah, but I checked it out. It was, it was all. These are government PDFs that you can download from the government website. It's just that no one in their right mind would ever go and look at it. Yeah. Isn't it? It's like the terms and conditions of any website. No one's going to go and who's going to go and look at the terms and conditions.
You'd have thought journalists, though, would be, journalists is their job, isn't it, to highlight this kind of stuff. You would have thought they would be reading it.
You think so? They couldn't even find Jimmy Savile. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting, isn't it?
They can't. Can people even see what's right in front of their eyes? You couldn't get more. This guy is how many people did he abuse? 1,000? This guy's on TV regularly doing stuff in front of people.
Just hiding in plain sight, wasn't he?
Hiding in plain sight. So I honestly think, because there's so much information out there, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to know where to search, and you can just, get lucky or have a thought. But now you have got things like the ChatGPT, and you can scan documents and get it to ask questions. It is quite incredible, because it led me to that, and then I started researching apartheid and who was involved in making money. What I was saying is, follow the money. Tell me who's making money from the NHS. That was the question I asked, and then I had other criteria that I would ask to it. And it just led me to these names. There's smaller percentages to things like BlackRock and other type of companies like that. But it is, I don't know whether to release that stuff. It just makes me look like a conspiracy theorist, doesn't it? But it is, you can go and check it out for yourself, and I'll put it under James's name, so it's not connected to me.
Yeah, so it all comes back to me.
Yeah, if these billionaires send some hitman out.
mate. Don't.
It's for James.
Yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Sorry, billionaires out there. Don't
that
kill
list.
me. Yeah.
That list that you put out on LinkedIn this morning about tax, and I mean, I've got to be honest, it didn't excite me massively.
No, it never excites people normally. So in a different life, James, I used to be an estate planner.
Wow.
And life insurance guy. I know it's hard to believe, charismatic guy like me doing a job like that. It is difficult, but I did like talking to people on the phone. I'm just atrocious at admin. But what people were shocked about, which people don't really know about, is because their house prices are going up. They don't really. When I spoke to you about it, you didn't really know much about inheritance tax, did you? To be honest, before I did this job, yeah. So I said, because I told you about it, I'll let you explain exactly what it is.
Because I didn't listen to a word you said. Literally went in one ear and out the other.
I thought your eyes were a bit glazed over.
So I made this very good impression of being a good listener and hanging on every single word and going, really? That's incredible. That's so interesting.
I was talking to you for an hour on it, James, and you can't even recite a single line.
I think I was meditating at the time.
So in terms of the UK, I'll just give you the gist.
Very
and then
brief.
Again, I'll give you a quick way to save money. So
good. Go for
inheritance
more
tax.
Value.
So more energy, more passion, more value. So, we get tax for everything, James. You get tax on your car, you pay road tax, you do a job, PAYE, you're getting taxed, you get VAT tax, this tax. So, you're paying all the debts on your mortgages. Yeah, it's tax. Royalty, it's not exactly the same for them. That's another thing. That's another podcast. That's another thing I'm not happy about, James. But we'll leave that alone for 1 second. But when you die, if you've made a certain amount of money, they'll tax you again. just one last nail in the coffin. And it's not a little bit, it's 40%. So what it is in the UK, if you're a single person with no kids and your assets rise over £325,000, which they call nil rate band threshold, NRB, then anything over 325, this is someone single person, no kids normally in that situation, they now charge you 40%. So if you're worth $500,000, if you're lucky enough to be worth $500,000, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But again, like we said with Money Man McNamara, average people are just got assets in their houses and stuff, haven't they, because of the inflated house prices. So all of a sudden you'll be taxed 40% over 325. Anything over that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if you'll get taxed, say you're worth $500,000, you'll get taxed 40% of 175,000. I'm not going to do the math, so I don't know that, but it's a decent amount. And the people, if that's if it's not in a property, so your loved ones, whoever your beneficiaries, are going to have to pay that. Whoever's your executors in your will. So if you're married and you got a property, then you get the 325k allowance each, and you get what they call a residence nil rate band, which is if you've got a house and kids, then you get an extra 175 each, 175k each. So that makes £500,000. Yeah, so $500,000, nothing to pay on the first death if you are married. But a lot of people are not getting married. They're living as whatever they call it.
Common law, husband and wife.
Common law, common people.
Husband and wife, not common people, common law.
They're living as common people at the moment. So So if you're living as a commoner,
You're Jarvis Cocker.
You won't get the spousal allowance. So all of a sudden, you'll be paying your IHT on the first death, which could be an absolute pain in the ass for you. So being married does help you claim on each other's allowances. So that's quite a big thing for people, and people don't understand that. Plus, with your house or your property, you can own it. Let's say in simple terms, you can own it 3 ways. That's most people. That is their asset base, their home. That's where most of their money is for most people. So you could own it as a joint owner. That's when you own 100% together. You could own it as tenants in common. That's when you own a percentage each. It could be 2 or more people. So normally couples can own it 50-50 each, or you could own it as a sole ownership property. So if you own it as a joint owner, it doesn't matter what's in your will. That property would just automatically go to the other joint owner. So the danger is if that person remarries, then that asset, if you pop your clogs early and your missus meets Juan from Spain.
Right. I'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah. All of a sudden, your missus pops her clogs and Juan's just run off with £500,000 potentially.
Yeah, he properly won. Yeah.
He really has won, hasn't he?
Be 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Right?
So what people are doing is they're splitting the tenancy of the property. So they're going to own it 50-50. Then they'll set up like a trust clause in their will to protect it. And they'll do things like that. So just bear in mind, if you have got assets over potentially 325, if you're a single person, if you're divorced and you got a property, it'll be £500,000. If you're in a couple, it'll be £1 million, anything over than that. But I was dealing with a lot of people who between 1 and 3 million, and they didn't realize when I was speaking to them, say, even if you had 1.5, I would say, look, you're going to have to pay 200 grand here at the end of the day. So that's the way to do it. But what I would say to people is just go onto ChatGPT again, my best friend, and put in all of your assets in there. Sometimes your pension just falls outside of your estate in terms of your estate value, so you don't need to add that. But any money you got in the bank, any assets you've got, like your house equity, all of that stuff, whack it in GPT and just say to it, right, calculate my IHT, put in as many details as possible. Say if you're married, divorced, single, that type of stuff, and it will just give you a layout of what you need to know, because people are now getting to the point where they don't realize it. All of a sudden they might have to sell assets, well, their kids will, to pay for the IHT. So there's ways around it, like you can set up insurance policies and stuff like that. But anyway, that was just a little helpful tip, because I'm just a man of value, James. It's it's kind of, you fell asleep there. It is boring.
Well, could you? I mean, this is a photograph of me. I'd gone off and I'd made a cup of tea. This was like on a video loop. I made one earlier of just me sort of nodding and smiling.
I think the money man McNamara made it. Yeah, but go and see an estate or just use ChatGPT. But anyway, this whole business thing of doing this, it can be automated out in one click. This is an industry that is super inefficient, and literally you could set up some type of software to organize it all for you, and you just press one button and it's done. It's such a painful industry, but important for people who have got assets and they want to protect it. Otherwise, rich people are gonna eat it up for you. But what else did we have, James?
Well, I was just about to say, should we take a pause and then answer the myriad of questions that have obviously come flooding in? whilst you were talking.
Let's have a look. If there is no questions, James, at the moment. We were.
I'm shocked.
Come on, is there anybody out there who wants to ask a question? Somebody types no.
Questioning your life choices
No.
right now.
So let's move on swiftly to.
Why did I ever ask that question? Is another one.
That's the finance out the way.
Done.
But what else was on there, James?
I can't remember.
I think it was something to do with the skills that are going to still be around when AI takes over. What do you think people need, James? Because we've got all this government efficiency. People are be worried about, the biggest worry is people haven't got a safety net. It's okay saying get rid of jobs, but people have got to live, haven't they? They've got to eat. They need to do something in the short term. So what skills are going to be beneficial in the future?
Short term is probably utilizing AI, teaching it, creating an awareness around it, how you can utilize it. I think there's a lot of people getting onto that bandwagon, getting educated on it, because there's a lot of people that still don't know how to use it, still haven't got that level of awareness. And that will go on for a long time, that people are pushing back against it. And I think there's a need. So, for corporates to get on board. I keep hearing the narrative around that if you're not on board with AI, you're going to suffer, that it's an unfair advantage if you do, and you'll be left behind. So there's quite a bit of scaremongering around it, whether that's been perpetrated by people that are doing this type of thing, that are selling these courses, or looking to go into corporates and teach them AI. But I do believe that you can't ignore it. It's here. And I do believe also it's going to give other people who are using it an unfair advantage, as we've talked about. So why not embrace it? Why not use it to be creative and make everything much more streamlined? I'm using it.
What are you doing?
And again, it's just really, I'm using it for ideas. It's like having a conversation with somebody that you would go to, a mentor or a mate, just to bounce ideas off. That's how I use it. So I type in a series of prompts in ChatGPT, give it a load of criteria to say that you are an expert in this particular field. Can you advise me on what is the best way to engage with ... or some ideas around content for whatever. And it will pump out a whole load of suggestions. I then look at that and go, oh, yeah, I had thought about the majority of it, but there are certain things that I hadn't. And then you can expand on that. So it's a tool.
So you're using ChatGPT predominantly. Is that your go-to?
I'm using it more than I have done previously. I think more now as a really good resource. Yeah. And I've got no qualms about doing it. I've got no guilt around it. I just think it enhances me as an individual, and then I put my own spin on it.
Yeah, there's loads of good ones. Gemini, Edge, Grok. All of these are pretty good. There's apps out there now, so you can just streamline everything you're doing, can't you? I think I think more in terms of their AI and the future skills. I think it's going to be a skill. One of the biggest skill is being adaptable and being able to learn new skills quickly, to learn how to learn. Because some people are just very, they've done something once, maybe they've gone to university and they've learned that one skill, and then they've repeated it over a long period of time. And now we're at the time where potentially people like programmers, even program languages are becoming out of date quite quickly. So you can learn the foundations, but you've got to be in a mindset where you're going to be learning now all the time, aren't you? It's going to be every year, every two, you're going to have to update your knowledge base. And that takes a skill, because you know what I think it is, James? I think we've got, especially in the UK, it's probably different in California because they've got a bit of a more of a a fail forwards mentality where it's okay to make mistakes. It's, I think Zuckerberg's statement was something like fail fast forwards. Don't quote me on that, but it was something like break things and move forwards quickly. But it was all about, try, iterate, fail forwards. Whereas in the UK, I think a lot of people have got learning trauma, I would say, what I would call learning trauma, because when you're at school, even nowadays, the whole school system is just geared towards you passing these GCSEs. It's not like a learning
regurgitating
experience.
facts.
Yeah.
And it's not about celebrating failure. We should be celebrating failure.
Because the teachers are under pressure because of the school rating system. So now the teachers are basically, trying to drive this knowledge into their kids in a very potentially destructive way, because it affects them badly in terms of the ratings. It affects the school and the funding. So it's
kids learn differently. That's not a one size fits all learning ability, and some are very, visual, some are more oral, some are, there's so many different ways of learning, and they can't possibly cater for everybody.
And I think it's become like a trauma for people. They don't even want to. The thought of picking up a book or learning then takes them back to this period of time where they think their whole life is going to be destroyed if they can't pass this exam.
Yeah, and the damage to their sense of self and whether they're successful or not very much governed by whether they can regurgitate these facts on demand.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people have massively struggled because they didn't fit the mold of the school system and therefore didn't think they were good at anything because they couldn't meet the criteria, weren't academic, but would have had huge amounts of creativity and, emotional intelligence that wasn't celebrated. Those are the things that are going to carry you forward. Academia is one thing if you're going into very specific areas, but the world needs people who are emotionally intelligent. I
agree. And at 15, 16 years old, it's an impressionable age to have that type of pressure on you to think your life's going to be over for passing a GCSE. Yeah. And that's how it did feel for me. I think it puts people off of learning. I think the whole learning experience was, I'm, relatively naturally academic. It's just the luck. Yeah. I can memorize.
If I was a potential employer, I wouldn't give a shit about qualifications. If somebody came to me and they had, 0 GCSEs, no A levels, but they'd been out in Africa volunteering, building wells, they've done charity work, they've created a school newspaper or something like that, or they've done something to show the quality of them as an individual that wasn't based remotely around academic achievement, I would choose them over somebody who hadn't done any of that, but had achieved, 8, 9 GCSEs, A levels, and the degree level. Again, depending on the industry that we're coming into, obviously there are qualifications required to be able to do a job. I accept that. But, as an employer, in terms of the character of an individual, that would be much, much more important to me.
Yeah, that's what Elon Musk says as well, isn't he? And a lot of these big wigs, billionaires, I wouldn't say all of them, but there are quite a few of the big ones that are sort of university dropouts, aren't they? They've dropped out and they've done their own thing. I'm not saying education's bad or anything. I just think there is maybe a culture definitely in the UK where the thought of learning, I think there's a lot of generational trauma connected to this, and that is not good for when it comes to AI. So people are going to have to, reprogram their brains around this learning experience, and that's going to be a massive benefit for you to be to be relatively comfortable with uncertainty and okay with not knowing and learning new things, because no one's going to know. Everyone's going to be in that same boat. So I think that's going to be massively important in the future, James, on that one.
I agree. So shall we round this off with our big news, our announcement? That was something you put on your post, wasn't it?
Yeah. We've got an interesting guest, haven't we, coming up? So the founder of quite a big health company in the food industry, and we have you want to announce it, James, as a guest coming on next week? What date is it? Is it the 18th?
So it's next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
So it's the co-founder of Fuel, James Collier. He's got a new book out called Well Fed. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. It's not going to be the main thing, but I'm really interested to talk to him because a lot of what he says, I completely agree with 100%. Certain things that we'll have our views on, but I haven't ever met him. But from what I've seen, I think I'm going to like him. I think he's down to earth. I think he's got a great message. He's very sort of self-aware and a little bit self-deprecating. I think he's humble. And, he's very much like me, trying to disseminate all the information that's out there around health, well-being, and certainly for his part, nutrition, because there's so much information. There's so much out there that people are talking about, and it's really confusing. And I think he's just trying to simplify it and doing it with a common sense approach. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating because the health industry and the food industry, there's just been so much change, hasn't there, in the last 50 years? And, I've got a lot of questions around the food industry and where we think it's going with, easy access to food and the different types of food. Like we've seen him talk about processed foods and things like that. So it would be an interesting conversation. And for somebody who's, involved in a business that's really I can't remember what the numbers are, but I think it's really big now. I think it's really big. It's just
taken off.
Fuels are just in terms of from my visual branding side, it's a great
example. It's a great example of a brand.
When it's just, one syllable, just looks slick, doesn't it?
Simple marketing.
Yeah, the ready drinks are like liquid gold, aren't they? They're a little bit too tasty. The caramel or the chocolate one, man, it's a very interesting business, because we have talked about supplementation before and the pros and cons of different things, haven't we? So I'll be very interested to see. Always interested to see how has someone done something? How do you go from potentially being a nutritionist to having this multi-million pound business? How does that? Always just thinking, how the hell did you get there? Basically,
and how much of it's serendipity? How much? It's one of those things.
Show me the way. Show me the way. So
there's a whole kind of thing around, how much you put down to luck, whether you believe in luck, whether you make your own luck, and that's that agency over your life, isn't it? It's like if you're waiting for something to happen, it'll never happen. You've got to go for it. You've got to take the opportunities when they present themselves, because it ain't going to land in your lap. So it's one of those things that, you could have said, well, it was lucky that particular thing happened. We know, I know the story, how it all came about, but it's like, was that just serendipity?
Yeah, that's what I'll be interesting to find out. How the hell did that?
Sometimes you turn left, sometimes you turn right.
Yeah, meet the right people, things click, right branding. I know Stephen Bartlett was involved as well. There's quite a few big investors in that company, isn't there? So
just
food industry,
very intelligent, clever,
competitive market as well. Very competitive. There's so much out there, isn't there?
Saturated. It's
Yeah.
saturated.
Not really for the probably they found like a very nice niche, didn't they, for vegan protein products?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there wasn't that. I can't remember another named vegan protein product, to be honest. There
Yeah.
probably is random smaller ones, but
there's sort of I think Pulse. Just trying to
Pulse,
think of some
yeah.
other ones. There was Sun Warrior or something like that, I think. But again,
Sun, yeah. I used to have Sun Warrior protein shakes.
yeah, but nothing that
Taste
really
wise wasn't
sticks.
quite
And,
on point. It
and
was a
also
bit dusty.
texture wise, kind of stuck in the back of your throat a bit.
Yeah, it matters.
So
yeah, we've
there's so many factors. I mean, it's going to be fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yes, Mr. Collier. So definitely people check that out. We've also got we haven't secured the date yet, but a James tag. So James is an inventor who invented the touch screen and the first ever person to have a company doing VoIP, which is just unbelievable. He's the kind of guy who can build a quantum computer in his garage. So yeah, we're moving up the levels at the moment. So that would be an interesting. we're watching Netflix and Game of Thrones. So he's building quantum computers in his garage. So it should be quite an interesting conversation. Again, I'm fascinated with people who can
just the stories. It's about the stories.
Humans are just ridiculous. There's some people out there, it's just collectively and individually, there is ridiculous intelligence out there. Even just walking past all of these these high-rise new apartment buildings the other day, I was just thinking every pane of glass has been measured, made to perfection.
Well,
all
somebody
the
had to
piping,
design that first. Somebody had to design it. Yeah.
And this is huge. Imagine you just get small things out of line. It's hard enough putting an IKEA table together.
Yeah. And what is it? What is that human element that, you think of people that have thousands and thousands of thoughts on a daily basis, but don't actually follow through on it, that they think, oh, I've got a great idea, but do nothing with it. And the people that do actually see it through to the end, to actually have that physical thing existing in the world, is fascinating to me.
It is. Some people, I don't know if it's IQ or whatever that is, but how do you go about building computers?
No, it can't be just that. It's got to be there has to be something driving them to create this thing and make it live,
to figure it out, and to
not give up until it does. You think of Edison and the light bulb and how many iterations of that. It's just like relentless to make it happen.
And we're all different. I've got zero inclination to start getting wires out and trying to figure out how to build a computer. That's not my vibe.
It's not how you're wired.
No. I don't think you are either, James, are you?
No.
My IQ's not that high. I'd rather,
I'd rather tell EQ. People. Maybe you got EQ than IQ, then, mate.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, because some people can be quite weird who do that stuff in a socially awkward way, can't they? But
sweeping statement.
But genius in other ways. We've all got our own genius in our own ways, haven't we? But those
some
guests
of us keep it more hidden than others.
Sure. And we've got some other guests as well that are with some very cool stories that are coming up. So
we're recording one on Friday. It's going to be a good one. I feel it in my bones.
Check it out and tune in. So Benjamin said, look forward to those guests. Sounds like let me bring this up on the screen so people know that I'm not lying. Looking forward to those guests. Sounds like a great show, gents. I'm off to play
pool. Like, quick trademark it.
Yeah, it's the business, isn't it? Pool pong for ex-employees. So if you're out there, we are selling pool pong tables. It's what we do. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, James, that's enough of you for one day.
It's enough for anybody.
Got shit to do. I've got computers to build. This is what I do.
Yeah, you've got a pong table to build.
Yeah, empires to start and things to do. Anyway, guys, have a great day. We will see you tomorrow, and we'll be releasing all of the guest appearance slot things, whatever it is, so you can join in and attend. So on these lives is good because obviously you can ask loads of questions while we are live. So check it out. Any words of to send us off, James?
Just that I love you, and I love the world generally.
Excellent.
But mostly you.
I love you too, James. I love you too. Take care, people. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.